Hello, guys. It's nice to say hello again to all of you. And let's continue talking a little bit about pronunciation. In the previous lesson, you were practicing some aspects of connecting words in a sentence when we speak. We call that in English connected speech. Connected speech is basically when we say something and we speak in English in a normal pace, not very fast, not very slow, but in a normal pace. And as we do in Spanish, we connect the words. So let's start doing an activity, okay? And this is going to be like a dictation. And I want you to hear carefully the words that I'm saying, and you need to write down the word or the phrase that you hear, okay? So I'm going to dictate, write down what you hear. Are you ready? 5 phrases. Phrase number 1. I'm going to repeat every phrase 2 times, okay? Let's start. Phrase number 1. Ice cream. Ice cream. Number 2. It's hard to recognize a beach. It's hard to recognize beach. 3. More rice, please. More rice, please. Number 4. Stuff. It's tough. Number 5. I call Danny. I call Danny. Yep. I'm going to repeat the 5 phrases one more time. Just check what you were writing, okay? Number 1, ice cream. Number 2, it's hard to recognize speech. More ice, please. Stuff. I call Danny. You ready? Okay, let's check what you were hearing. So I have here some examples of what probably you heard. Okay? So let's see. Which phrases were you copying? Phrases 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the first column, or phrases 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the second column? Which one? Or a mixture of both? Yeah? So you have some words from the first column and some phrases from the other column. It's very probable. Now, why this is a problem? Because sometimes it's difficult for us to understand what other people are saying, right? Especially when we're doing listening. Sometimes we don't understand the exact phrase the person is saying. And the reason is because the person is connecting the words. If you check number one, both sentences, both phrases are completely correct. Both phrases sound exactly the same when we say the phrases connected. Ice cream sounds like ice cream, right? Think about number 3. More rice, please. More rice, please. They sound very the same. Number 2, can be a little bit different because it depends on how fast we speak. So probably the first time you heard number 2 and the second time you heard the other column. So that can vary. Number 4, stuff. It's tough. It's tough. Would you say it like that? And number 5, I call Danny. What do you hear? The first column or the second column? They sound exactly the same. So that's why it is important that we learn first to recognize when a word finishes and when another word starts, and also practice how to connect words in English. So normally, we can understand from the context what a word is, or when a word finishes and another start. For example, these two sentences sound the same, but we know that one is wrong because it's illogical. It has no sense. So number one says it's no good. It's no good. Number two, it's no good. Exactly the same, right? The pronunciation is completely the same. But if you are not watching the text and you hear it's no good, what do you think? What phrase do you have in your mind? Number two. Because you know that number two, it's logical. It's like the obvious thing, right? It's no good. Number one sounds exactly the same, but we know that it's illogical. It doesn't make sense. It's no good. I mean, we cannot describe the weather like that, right? Just think about that when we talk about connected speech. I have an activity for you to do. And this activity, we're going to try to practice how to connect sentences. So look at this, at the phrases that I have here. And remember that most of the time we connect the last syllable or the last sound of a word with the vowel of the next one. So got up at 8. We need to connect it, right? So we say got up at 8, right? It's just like one word. Got up at 8. Got up, and then the P with the A, up, got up at, pat, and then the T with E, at 8, at 8. So got up at 8. Number two, got on a bus. You got on a bus. We try to connect. Number three, went into work. Went in, sounds like that, right? Went in, but we know that it's went into work. Went into work. Worked until 2. Went out for lunch. Back on a bus. Slept in a chair. I'm going to repeat them one more time. Got up at 8. Got on a bus. Went into work. Worked until 2. Went out for lunch. Back on the bus. Slept in a chair. Try to practice them. You can pause the video if you want and try to connect them. The idea is that you put the last sound with the next sound of the next word. So instead of saying got up at 8, you say got up, and then you connect up at. So you say up at, got up at, and then at 8, instead of saying at 8. So got up at 8, right? Try to practice. You can pause if you want and practice saying the phrases. Now, let's do one more activity. And in this activity, we're going to try to discover what the problem is on those sentences. It says in pairs, try to do it individually. It says try to discover what the problem is in the following sentences regarding pronunciation. So what is the correct word or phrase that goes best? The phrases are illogical, but you need to say them. This is about pronunciation. You need to try to say, that's the tip. Try saying or reading the sentences quickly to discover the answer. I'm gonna help you with the first one. So if you read the first sentence, connect it, and kind of fast, you can discover what the problem is. I want you to do it, so you're also practicing your pronunciation. So number one says, known uses good news as they say. 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 No news is good news as they say. Can you discover what is the actual correct sentence? That sentence is incorrect. Known uses good news. That it's illogical. Number two, try to say number two very fast and you're going to discover what the correct answer is. Do you want me to help you with the pronunciation? It says, have you phoned your parents this week? Have you phoned your parents this week? Have you phoned your parents this week? I think that one is very easy, right? So you can discover what the problem is. What about number three? I've never heard you lie before. I've never heard you lie before. I've never heard you lie before. What is the problem there? The original, number 3, I've never heard you lie before. That's not correct. I mean, the words, those are not the correct words, but they sound the same. What about number 4? Try to say number 4. Remember, try to say the sentences fast. Do you need some help? Okay, number 4 says, they joined us for dinner. 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 Try to pause the video. Check the sentences. Try to say the sentences so you can discover what the correct word goes in each sentence and what is the incorrect part of the sentence. You can pause the video and try to do it. And then you can click again and discover what the correct answers are. Okay, so those are the correct answers. So number 1 should be no news is good news, as they say. It's exactly the same. No news is good news, as they say. The pronunciation is exactly the same. Number 2, have you phoned your parents this week? Not Joe, but your. But because we're speaking very fast, the R kinds of disappear. So we say, have you phoned your parents this week? Have you phoned your parents this week? Number 3, I've never heard you lie before. Talking about lies, not telling the truth. So I've never heard you lie before. And number 4, they joined us. It's the past. They joined us for dinner. They joined us. They joined us for dinner. They sound exactly the same. But, of course, when we hear those sentences in real life, we don't get confused because we know that these ones are incorrect. So the correct ones are these. This is just an example of how words can sound the same, and sometimes it can be problematic to distinguish which word exactly the person is saying. Most of the time, context can help us, and of course, we have the rest of the conversation to discover what exactly the person is about. But this is an aspect of pronunciation that I think it's important for us to understand and also for us to practice and be better in our pronunciation in English. Thank you very much for your attention, guys, and keep practicing your pronunciation. If you have questions, feel free to ask those questions when we connect. Thank you very much.